everyone. Today, even though I am not here, you are still going to be able to go through the literacy lesson just on video form. So what we're going to be working on today is analyzing the reactions of characters to Esperanza when she's watching the babies in Las Ciruelas. And we're also going to notice similarities between a model paragraph and a note catcher, and then you are going to write your own character reaction paragraph. Today we are going to read the first part of the chapter. We're going to read pages 139 to 147 in Esperanza Rising. As we read, I want you to make sure you are taking your sketch notes because you are going to be submitting them after we finish reading the second half of the chapter next week. Follow along as we read pages 139 to the top of page 147. Pause the video as we go to add to your sketch notes. Make sure you have the title, Las Ciruelas, at the top, and notice that it says plums here. That means that Las Ciruelas is referring to the fruit plums. As they walked to the bus stop, Isabel recited a list of concerns to Esperanza, sounding exactly as Josefina and Mama had sounded earlier that morning. Put Pepe down for a nap first, and when he falls asleep, put Lupe down. Otherwise, they will play and never go to sleep, and Lupe will not eat bananas. I know, said Esperanza, repositioning Pepe on her hip. Isabel handed her Lupe and climbed up the steps of the yellow bus. She found a seat and waved from the window. Esperanza wondered who was more worried, she or Isabel. Esperanza struggled to carry both babies back to the cabin. Thank goodness Isabel had already helped her feed and dress them. She settled them on a blanket on the floor with some tin cups and wood blocks. Then put the beans into a big pot on the stove. Hortensia had prepared them earlier with a big onion and a few cloves of garlic, and instructed Esperanza to stir them occasionally and let them cook on low heat, adding more water throughout the day. She stirred the beans and watched Pepe and Lupe play. I wish Abuelita could see me, she thought. She would be proud. Pause there and sketch yourself what's happened so far in the chapter. Then click play once you are done. Later, Esperanza looked for something to feed the babies for lunch. A bowl of ripe plums sat on the table. They should be soft enough to eat, she thought. She took several, removed the pit, and mashed them with a fork. Both babies loved them, reaching for more after each spoonful. Esperanza mashed another 3 plums, and they gobbled every bite. She let them have their fill until they started fussing and reaching for their bottles of milk. Enough of lunch, said Esperanza, cleaning their faces and gratefully thinking that it would soon be nap time. She slowly changed their wet diapers, remembering all of Josefina's and Isabel's instructions. She put Pepe down first with his bottle as directed, and when he fell asleep, she put Lupe next to him. Esperanza lay down too, wondering why she was so tired, and she dozed. Go ahead and pause and add again to your sketch notes. Click play once you are done. She woke up to Lupe's whimpering and an atrocious smell. Brown liquid leaked from her diaper. Esperanza picked her up and carried her out of the room so she wouldn't wake Pepe. She changed her into a dry diaper and rolled the soiled one into a ball and put it by the door until she could take it to the toilets. When she put Lupe back down, Pepe was sitting up in bed in the same condition. She repeated the diaper changing with both babies clean. She left them in the bed and dashed to the toilets to rinse the diapers. Then she ran back to the cabin. A different smell greeted her. The beans! She had forgotten to add more water. When she checked the pot, they appeared to be scorched only on the bottom, so she poured in water and stirred them. The babies cried and never went back to sleep. Both dirtied their diapers again. The wadded pile by the door grew. They must be ill, worried Esperanza. Did they have the flu, or was it something they ate? No one else had been sick recently. What had they eaten today? Only their milk and the plums. The plums, she groaned. They must have been too hard on their stomachs. Pause there and add to your sketch note. Click play once you're done. What did Hortensia give her when she was a child and was sick? She tried to remember. Rice water. But how did she make it? Esperanza put a pot on the stove and added a cup of rice. She wasn't sure how much water to add, but she remembered that when rice didn't come out soft, Hortensia always said, It needed more water. She added plenty and boiled the rice. Then she poured off the water and let it cool. She sat on the floor with the babies and fed them teaspoons of rice water all afternoon, counting the minutes until Isabel walked through the door. Pause there and add to your sketch note. "What happened?" said Isabel, when she arrived and saw the pile of diapers by the door. "They were sick from the plums," said Esperanza, nodding toward the plate still on the table where she had mashed them. "Oh, Esperanza, they are too young for raw plums. Everyone knows that plums must be cooked for babies," said Isabel. "Well, I'm not everyone," yelled Esperanza. She dropped her head and put her hands over her face. Pepe crawled into her lap, making happy, gurgling noises. She looked at Isabel, already sorry for screaming at her. "I didn't mean to yell. It was a long day. I gave them some rice water, and they seem to be fine now." Sounding surprised, Isabel said, "That was exactly the right thing to do." Esperanza nodded and let out a long sigh of relief. That night, no one mentioned the number of rinsed and wrung diapers on the wash tub outside the door, or the beans that they were obviously burnt, or the pan of rice in the sink. And no one questioned Esperanza when she said that she was exhausted and wanted to go to bed early. Pause there and add to your sketch note. The grapes had to be finished before the first fall rains and had to be picked rapido, quickly. So now there were no Saturdays or Sundays in the week, just work days. The temperature was still over 90 each day. So as soon as Isabel's bus left for school, Esperanza took the babies back to the cabin. She fixed their bottles of milk and let them play while she made the beds. Then she followed Hortensia's instructions for starting dinner before turning to the laundry. She was amazed at the hot, dry air. Often by the time she had filled the clotheslines that were strung between the trees, she only had minutes to rest before the valley sun dried the clothes crisp and they were ready to fold. Irene and Melina came over after lunch and Esperanza spread a blanket in the shade. Esperanza liked Melina's company. In some ways she was a young girl, sometimes playing with Isabel and Sylvia, or telling Esperanza gossip as if they were school friends. In other ways she was grown up, with a nursing baby and a husband, and preferring to crochet with the older women in the evenings. "Do you crochet?" Melina asked. "I know a little, but only a few stitches," said Esperanza, remembering Abuelita's blanket of zigzag rows that she had been too preoccupied to unpack. Melina laid her sleeping baby girl on the blanket and picked up her needlework. Irene cut apart a 50-pound flour sack that was printed with tiny flowers to use as fabric for dresses. Esperanza tickled Pepe and Lupe, and they laughed. "They adore you," said Melina. "They cried yesterday when I watched them for the few minutes it took you to sweep the platform." It was true. Both babies smiled when Esperanza walked into the room, always reaching for her, especially Pepe. Lupe was good-natured and less demanding, but Esperanza learned to watch her closely as she often tried to wander away. If she turned her back for a minute, Esperanza found herself frantically searching for Lupe. Esperanza rubbed Lupe's and Pepe's backs, hoping they would go to sleep soon. But they were restless and wouldn't settle even though they had their bottles. The afternoon sky looked peculiar, tinged with yellow, and there was so much static in the air that the baby's soft hair stuck out. "Today is the day of the strike," said Melina. "I heard they were going to walk out this morning." "Everyone was talking about it last night at the table," said Esperanza. "Alfonso said he is glad that everyone from our camp agreed to continue working. He is proud that we won't strike." Irene continued working on the flour sack and shaking her head. "So many Mexicans have the revolution still in their blood. I am sympathetic to those who are striking. I am sympathetic to those of us who want to keep working. We all want the same things, to eat and feed our children." Esperanza nodded. She had decided that if she and Mama were to get Abuelita here, they would not afford to strike. Not now. Not when they so desperately needed money and a roof over their heads. She worried about what many were saying. If they didn't work, the people from Oklahoma would happily take their jobs. Then what would they do? Stop there and add your last sketch note for this part.